Hi, thanks for listening to the monthly social here on YouTube. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. It would mean the world to us. All right, hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the monthly social, where we've now reached over 60 countries, and that aligns perfectly with our new next guest, who's performed in Barcelona, Paris, Canada, the USA, Mexico, Portugal, and other wonderful countries, as we truly are worldwide. She's also the only woman to DJ a Toronto Raptors game, highlighting their historic championship season. Also, a singer, songwriter, and MC. Canada, she is yours and you are hers. I'm welcoming to the show Flavia Avidia. Welcome. How are you today, Flavia?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to have you on the show. It's so good to see you too.
Yeah, it's nice to see you. Yeah, I'm excited to get talking.
You've got palm trees in the back. I've got Toronto in the back. So,
Yeah, it's like I'm manifesting what I want to live in more full time. So I would
I
love to be away more in a tropical place. So I put my background so I can see myself in those
me
places.
me too. Flavia, me too. I love palm trees. There's something about just sitting underneath the palm tree and the sun is shining. I
Yeah.
love white sand. So, yeah, we're bringing people with us there as we talk about it, right?
Yes. Oh my gosh, we should cue like wave sounds right now.
You
Beach.
know what? I'm gonna do it.
Okay,
If
cool.
people hear it when they're listening and you hear the waves, we're gonna work those in earlier. You're like,
Okay,
what
cool.
are wave sounds? Um, Look, you really are global. Like I mentioned all those places. And tell me if I got this right. You're born in France. You have a
Yes.
Colombian and French Canadian heritage.
Yes.
And when did you come over from France?
So I came over to Montreal when I was 5 years old, and I was there for 2 years, and then I moved to the Greater Toronto area for, I guess, most of my life. I've traveled and lived abroad in short periods, but yeah, I've mostly been in the GTA since I was, I guess, 7 years
Wow.
old. Yeah.
So Montreal, like I love Montreal. So that's awesome. Do you remember like being five and moving and going through that transition?
I do. I do remember. I remember looking at my empty house, being like, "Oh wow, there's no more furniture in here." Or when we left the house and I was like, "Oh, this is the last time I'm going to look at the house." I don't know. I have a lot of memories from there, mostly of my house and
Right?
actually a little bit of school too from there. But yeah.
See, people like I have memories. People think I'm lying when I say to them, I remember being in Italy when I was 3 years old and visiting my grandparents and things like that. And they're like, you don't remember that. I'm like, I do. I remember that. And they're like, you can't remember when you're 3 years old. But I'm like, how do you know what I can remember? I do. I have recollections of my grandfather in Italy,
Oh,
right? Yeah.
nice.
But so at 5 years, so in France, do you remember having friends there and going through that transition too at that age
So
or?
I remember like friends at birthday parties and stuff. I remember
Wow.
at recess, like in school, I would like memories that stick out to me is I would sing by myself on we had like this little hill and I'd be so happy just walking on this hill singing to myself. I don't know.
You were performing. You weren't just singing.
Yeah.
You were starting your career right there,
Yeah.
right? Wow. Have you been back since, or like, I mean, you've been traveling everywhere, but
So I did an exchange in France in university and I realized like how different it is than here. It was yeah, it took me time to get used to the pace of life and differences there. And then when I came back, I got a cultural shock coming back to Canada. I was like, oh wow, things are so different. Um, yeah, it was really interesting. Like the culture is different. Getting things done is more efficient in Canada, for example.
Mm.
Like if you want to get a phone or if you want to, I don't know, it's everything's very easy here. And things are open later and longer. There it's different.
See,
It's
that's interesting. Like
the way
you say that, and people who live here sometimes don't have that perspective. They think, oh, things are so hard and then it's not working the way we want it to, and
oh my
right? But
gosh.
life in Europe is different, right?
And I've spoken to people who have lived abroad as well. Like in Canada, we really have it easy. We really do. Like, yeah, when you go to different countries, you realize, oh, okay. Things
Yeah.
are different, you know? I mean, we're very lucky to be living here, and I think it's human nature to compare things and yeah, it's all about perspective and just appreciating and being grateful for what you do have wherever you are, I think.
Yeah, and I think you know what, you and I opened the show and we were joking around about the palm trees, but there's nothing wrong with the maple tree, you know, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
And we have to enjoy it and love it too. So, but
Yeah.
I'm listen, I'm really glad you actually said that because you know, with all the things going on in the world, I'm instead of trying to focus on the negative, I always try to tell people some good things about Canada or point out the positives, the things that we do have, as opposed to
Yeah.
always focusing on the negative because there's just too much negative sometimes in the world, right? Too much fighting and all that stuff. I don't like it. But
And
sorry, go ahead.
and you said maple trees. I love maple syrup because I'm half French Canadian. So, yeah, that is a big bonus of being here. You get maple syrup.
Maple syrup is a beautiful thing. It is. Now I gotta ask, French Canadian, you went to Montreal.
Mhm.
I know you and I are here in the GTA, right? But when
Yes.
it comes to hockey,
Okay.
do you have a favorite team or?
I don't I don't watch hockey really or follow it
Oh
as much.
no.
I know. So I appreciate people who are fans of their
Of
teams.
both of their
I
teams. All right.
yes,
All right.
I love everyone equally.
I thought maybe, you know, having gone to Montreal, French Canadian, that I had a Montreal Canadiens fan on my hands here, and that's okay because I am. So
Okay,
that would
nice.
be fine too, right? But yeah, I'm a hockey nut. I love hockey and
Cool.
part of the other things I do is very much hockey, but also very much music. And that's what really we're here to talk about your music.
Yes.
But I wanted to start with the DJ part of you.
Hmm.
And it's a little bit different from the kind of DJing I did growing up, which you know, I say, well, it was a little traditional. You know, I'd blend one song into the other song. You know, typically at a bar. I didn't have all the cool mixing stuff that you do. Um, how do you like? And I'm in awe of it. Like I really love like you know like how you're blending the sounds and doing all that stuff. I'm like, wow, man, that is so cool. But how does somebody get into it? How did you get into it? And what influenced you to start doing that and going, yeah, man, I can do this.
So there's a number of things. One of the things is I was in a very serious car accident in 2013, and I had a traumatic brain injury from that. So I had a lot of issues. I had to relearn a lot. Like I my frontal lobe was affected, so I couldn't regulate my emotions at that time, and I had memory issues, and lights and sounds were a big problem for me. Um, so anyways, I was recovering physically and mentally because I had to learn to walk again and all that stuff. And then during my recovery, I realized that a lot of doctors didn't know like how what to tell me in terms of recuperation or next steps. And I love music. I love dancing, singing, and I was like, why don't I just make music a bigger part of my own rehab? And one of the things I did was learn to DJ. So I bought a controller at Long and McQuaid. I started practicing by myself, YouTubing things. I realized there weren't many great YouTube videos. It was either super basic or really advanced, and it didn't show me step by step. Actually, because of that, I'm thinking of actually creating a DJ course because I have a teaching background as well. So I think that would be helpful for anyone who wants to learn to DJ. Um, and I got mentors. So I got a mentor, DJ Dopey, who's a DMC champion of the world, and also Four Corners, who's the official Toronto Raptors DJ. And yeah, I basically paid them for their time to give me lessons. I'd practice by myself, sometimes like 6 hours a day. You know, I was just really into it, and it really helped rehab my brain, like learning how to mix two songs together. And yeah, I learned on with records, like with vinyl, and then I I also learned with my controller. I did bars. My first gigs were at bars as well, like you did. And then it just grew from there. I started getting more gigs. I did a lot of weddings. I did bar mitzvahs. I've done corporate festivals. Yeah, I've done a lot of
You're
almost every event you can imagine.
I've been speechless for the last couple of minutes listening to your story here from
Yeah.
the accident
Hmm.
and then, sort of self-directing yourself through this journey. Like, first of all, congratulations.
Thanks.
The perseverance to get through something and the trauma, right? To get through that trauma and then come out
Yeah.
as you did. Having your self-awareness to say, hey, I'm going to try this other thing here. And you
Hmm.
reminded me, I've had on the show, her name is Jennifer Buchanan, and she's a music
Okay.
therapist.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, she did a whole book, and we talked about music therapy and how how we can use that for rehabilitation and things.
Oh,
But
nice.
you're living proof like that you actually used music therapy in a sense,
Yeah.
not only to rehabilitate yourself, but to discover these talents and skills that you've shared with all of us. What an incredible journey, and thank you for making me feel good that just like you, yeah, I think you're a little bit different. You've taken it to another level. I think I was on the last episode where I was talking with Neil Osborne from 5440. And I was sharing one of my DJ stories where I was in a cage, and people have to listen to that. It's just
Oh.
funny. But yeah, so you end up doing this, you're self-taught, you get to, you're doing all these events, and now I mentioned in the intro that you're the only woman to DJ a Toronto Raptors game.
Hmm.
Um, like that's barrier breaking, I think. Do you think, like, where does that do for women in terms of putting them on that stage? And I seen the pictures and you're kind of there and you're doing your thing, you look great, you sound good. Like, how does, what does that do for women and barriers in terms of that?
I don't always think about that. I just am myself and I just try to do more all the time and just like stay aligned with my purpose and what I like to do. And while I'm doing it, I also try to kind of change the conversation as I'm doing things. Like even with my original music, when I make music videos, I do like a an active effort to either get like a female videographer or female people to help me or people of color. Like I try to give as many opportunities to people who might not necessarily have them
Yeah,
and yeah, create like great products and great videos and great music. I love collaborating, so I'm
you get
intentional in
that
that.
diversification, right? You're diversifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I just
And
look at things like that and I think, if a young girl sees you doing that, then maybe there's some inspiration there, something that maybe they wouldn't have thought of. You think DJ, and growing up, even us, like we thought DJ, we wouldn't have necessarily thought girl DJ. You always thought boy
yeah,
DJ. But then you see it and then you're like, wow, you know what? Look, if she can do it, maybe I can, or maybe I can learn, and that
yeah.
inspiration,
And it's musical, right? It's not
Yeah,
like I can understand if someone says, "Oh, like in a sporting event, if certain one gender is stronger than the other or whatever," but this
right.
is music and it has nothing to do with any of that. It's just your creativity, your ability to read a room, your music taste. I really don't think there should be that big of a difference now. Also, especially since the equipment is more streamlined. Like I can understand before people had to get have like milk crates filled with records, you know? But we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it wasn't quite records. I was carrying around at the time. I was carrying around CDs,
Okay, nice.
boxes of CDs.
Okay, yeah.
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 And and then we got to the point where, okay, well, I'll create a mix of CDs, but then, depending on what kind of request. And it's interesting because you said read the room.
Yes.
And I think that's very important. And you, over and over, even though we've only been talking for a short while here, self-awareness is a big part of your identity and what you do. And I know, like when we were in the room, yeah, you kind of if you go there with an idea, or I used to go there with an idea, and then be like, this isn't working,
Yeah.
right? I gotta switch it up, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, so it depends on whatever event I do. In
Yeah,
general, like if I get requests ahead of time, I have those requests ready. In general, I just go in and read the room. I don't have a concrete plan. I'm like, okay, these people are this age, or this nationality. Okay, I'll play this. Okay, they respond well to this song. Cool, I'll play this. Oh, okay, they're gonna love this. And yeah, I just keep playing, and it's really cool to see a dance floor filled the whole time, or people being like,
yeah.
"Oh my God, yeah!" Every time you play a song that you didn't, they didn't think they would hear, but they're like, "Oh, this is perfect," or "Oh my God, I can't believe, you know, I'm hearing this song." That just makes me so happy, and yeah, it's like a really cool exchange.
There's an element of confidence though that you go into a room and you're able to do that. Like you must have got to that level of confidence, right?
Yeah, I think I mean, I guess, yeah. And
Yeah,
also with DJing, it's not, I mean, it depends what kind of show or event it is, but in general, it's not about me. It's about the audience. So
yeah.
I'm really playing to what they want to hear, and I'm just reading and seeing what they want. Yeah, I think if
So
go ahead.
Flavia, how did you find yourself in that opportunity during like with the Raptors in that championship run? How did that come about?
So I've DJ'd for so many different entertainment companies in Toronto, the GTA, and also independently. And that one came through a female DJ agency called Lux Life Sound. So through that one, yeah, they hired me, and
Wow.
I did the game, and I because I also knew like Four Corners, who
Right.
does the Raptors game. I asked him ahead of time. I'm like, "Hey, can I come shadow you and see what you're doing?" And he was really nice and let me do that. And yeah,
What do you remember most about that experience? Like what sticks out in your mind?
there was a moment where I was like, "This is like deja vu," which
Oh,
is
really?
kind of interesting. Yeah, it's like it was already meant to happen, and I was like, "Oh, this feels familiar somehow." Yeah.
So that's got to be one of your best moments, I imagine, DJing, or one of your most
I mean, it's definitely one of them. I
yeah.
think there's a lot of moments. I mean, I just love DJing so much. And I don't think I can't compare all the events, but I mean, DJing in Paris was really cool because that's originally like where I was born,
Yeah.
and DJing in Barcelona, or even if I do a great corporate gig and people are dancing the whole time and happy, like that just makes me so happy. Yeah, when I see people smiling and laughing and having a good time, that just fills me up. So,
It's almost if I can, and you're an artist, you do songs, and we're going to talk about that. You do songs when you're an artist. And sometimes I say to artists, what's your favorite song that you've written or you play? And they say,
mm,
don't make me pick. They're all my children. They're each one of them is unique. Each one of them is a different experience, a different part of my life, something that happened. Is DJing your events a little bit like that, where each one of them has that uniqueness, and each one could be a child because each one brought you something different, or you connected with the audience differently, or
I guess I wouldn't say they're it's like a child. Even music I don't think is like a child, but I understand that
yeah,
comparison more so with creating music. Um it's just different. Like even for example, like weddings. There's no two weddings are the same.
right.
Even though some people or DJs might have like a certain set list for, like, everyone is so different. The people are different. There's a bunch of variables during the event. Like if people eat a lot and they're full, they might not want to dance as quickly. Or if people drink, then they want to dance more. If there's more women in general, they'll dance more than if it's a super male dominated event in general. Yeah, there's like so many factors, and every event is unique and different.
Have you had one where it's, I don't want to say forgettable, but you go, oh, that didn't go well, or that didn't work, or anything, or or equipment or something didn't quite go right that you go, oh,
I mean, in general, I mean, when I was starting to DJ, I was like, "Oh, I could have done this better or this could have been better." But now I know that I'm always doing my best and I do a good job. Um, and I make sure now that I'm more selective with what I'm doing, so I'm putting myself in positive environments.
right.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I mean, you're selective and picking your spots and where you could be successful and all those
Mhm.
sorts of things. Look, talking about being successful, another amazing thing about you is you speak English, French, and Spanish.
Yeah.
Um, dare I ask, I mean, you self-taught DJ and all this stuff after an accident. Are you also self-taught in those languages or school
No.
studied? And no?
Those so okay, because I was born in France, I had French around me. My dad would speak to me in English and my mom would speak to me in Spanish. So my mom's
Uh,
Colombian and my dad's French Canadian. So people ask me, what was your first language? And I don't have one. I grew up with all three. And then in Montreal, obviously, there was French around me. And then in the greater Toronto area, I went to a French school. So yeah, French elementary school, French high school. In university, I studied French as well. So, and my mom kept speaking to me in Spanish. So, yeah, I grew up
you
with the mix.
you grew up with the mix. So has speaking the multiple languages worked itself into your music?
Yes, definitely. In my songwriting, so I mostly write in English and Spanish. I've tried writing in French, but I don't know. I can I can write a whole essay in French, but creatively it doesn't come out the same for
Uh-huh.
me. I think more academic in French. Um, And yeah, it's really cool because, for example, there are words in Spanish that don't exist in English, and I can play on those words, or I can go deeper or do different analogies or different sayings I can do in Spanish. Um, and then depending on whatever song or beat we're working on, I'm like, okay, this is more a Spanish language song. This one's English, or yeah, it's interesting to write in both.
And pull it in. So
Yeah.
listen, you've got a new album coming out later this year. I
Yes.
believe the title is Salvaje, which
Salvaje.
Salvaje. Yeah,
Yes.
that was close. Which in Spanish, I think it means wild.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
So tell us, what is wild about the album, or what are we talking about?
So originally I wanted to base this whole album on like the tropical rainforest. Uh, and then it kind of evolved and there was a departure point from that. Um, but in general, this album is just being more free. And that's why it's more wild, I guess, than my other music. It's embodying sometimes like a darker colors than my previous music. And yeah, to me, it's mostly about freedom. This,
And I understand, part of that, your new album, it's mostly in Spanish,
yeah,
except for maybe a couple of songs.
yes, exactly. So it's mostly all in Spanish, and then there's going to be a couple of cool surprises in there.
I like surprises. Surprises are fun. Why did you end up going mostly Spanish with this one?
So for this album, I actually got a Factor grant and I applied with my Spanish music. So yeah, Factor helped me out. Shout out to Factor. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
right on. Right on.
And yeah, so that's why it's mostly Spanish. And it felt really good to create this in Spanish. There are different songs on the album. Some um like Mala is more like R&B reggaetonish. There's another song that's called YNQF that's like a mix of dance electronic with guaracha. It's kind of has that Pepas by Faruco vibe. And then there's another song, which I'll send you all these songs, called Ten Cuidao, which is dembow influenced. So, and it has a little bachata elements. I really got to play and yeah, express myself in different ways, which was really cool.
You get me excited to hear all this music now, and I love the way you say those words. So,
Thanks.
has your mom and dad, like, have they heard the music or?
I mean, yeah, they've heard some of it. I try and I just go through my own process, and if
Yeah.
they like it, cool. If they don't like it, I know they're not gonna like. I mean, I have I have a music video coming out for a song
Uh-huh.
called Peligrosa, which means dangerous. And yeah, it's a very sensual music video and
Yeah.
it's very sexy. So I know that they probably won't like that, but it's okay. I just do what feels good for me and express myself and then
But
yeah.
we love mom and dad. We love you still. That's like the
Yes,
main thing.
of course I
Of
will.
course.
Yeah.
Look, you mentioned Mala, and it's
Mhm.
the first song from the album I think you're sharing with us. Now, at the beginning you said to me, are you, we talked about me being Italian. If I use my Italian, yes, I am Italian, Guido. I would think that that means bad, right? Mala. In
Yeah.
Italian we say malandrina, mala, right?
Okay.
But is that what it means, bad?
Yes.
And so what are we talking about? What's bad here? Like, when is it the relationship? Is there a relationship, or what's the deal?
So that song has kind of like almost like a old school vibe, like Havana, Cuba, like gangster hats, or even New York vibes. Um, it's kind of like a Mr. and Mrs. Smith type of song. So the the woman in this song is kind of telling the guy like, "Hey, I know who you are,
Uh-huh.
and you're trying to figure out who I am." It's like both of them have a secret. They're trying to figure it out. Um, and then it's up to you, the listener, to interpret what happens in the end. But yeah, it's cool because it's about being free, I'm in my regular life, I'm like super nice and good all the time, so it's a cool way to express myself and be, I guess, a little bad in through my music.
Love it. Love it. We're playing
Yeah.
it up here. This is getting more exciting the more we talk about the album and the song. Um, so the song Mala, you produced I believe with Mehdi Landia.
Yeah.
And so what does Mehdi, if I can say Mehdi, what does
Yeah.
Mehdi bring to the song or to the whole process for you?
So he's the producer who I've worked with on most of this album, and he is half French Canadian like me and half Latino like me, but he's half Dominican. So we both have very similar musical influences. And then, I mean, he's really good at what he does. And in the process, so when I go to the studio in general, when we're creating something new, we create it from scratch. So let's say I give him a direction of what I want to do. Um, he maybe we'll get like a drum pattern or instruments going, and he builds the
Mm.
beat. So I might have ideas for the beat or certain sounds I want or certain samples I want, and then he builds it. And he might also have ideas on the melody that I'm coming up with, or even the words or the way I deliver something. It's really a collaborative process. And yeah, I mean, I love the music we create together. So,
It's interesting because you mentioned the creative process, and I love exploring that for a moment, and just learning about it. And do you go into the studio and that's where it starts, or are you out and about and something gets in your head and you're kind of lay something down like a little recording and then you go in, or like, and I know some artists really have a process, like they'll go in and they need to have a certain room and a certain, like, what's yours? Are you open?
yeah, so in general, I mean, sometimes ideas come to me and I record them on my phone for sure. I've done a couple of songs like that. But in general, I really like creating in the studio. So if I have certain references or certain things I want to do, we'll build it together, which is really exciting. And yeah, every song is different. Some songs the lyrics or the melody might come to me like poof, it's done. I've written it in like 10 minutes. Or some of them might take several sessions, or I'll get someone else to help
Mm.
me with some of the songwriting. For Mala, um, I had a friend help me with some of the songwriting of it. So I gave it to her. She wrote something. I had ideas at first that I sent to her. She sent me something back, and then I took pieces of that and built it into the song it is today. So yeah, it depends. It depends on the song. It depends. But in general, I build from scratch with the producer in the studio, and that's how I work best because I have ideas for the beat, and then he may or may not have ideas for um, the melody or the words or
Yeah.
whatever. But
No, that's interesting because you could bring it to life right there, right? And so
mm,
you have that focus, and that's why I say it's interesting. Everybody does it a little bit differently, but I'm always intrigued by it. And it sounds like you've got collaboration. You work together. You bring something to life. You get that instant sort of feedback, and you can kind of work through your process right there. Um, I've mentioned a couple of times you've performed all over the world, and knowing how you work and collaborate and things like that. Do you have one place that more than any other place that gives you a special vibe where you go, man, everything just falls into place. I love being here. I love performing here. I love doing this in this place, sort of thing.
definitely Barcelona.
Really?
Yes, because there's like in general, half of the crowd is tourists and half of the crowd is Spanish people, and both of them really like to party and dance, and it's so much fun. And I love how, I mean, when I've DJ'd at different events there, it depends on the place I'm at, but they're very open to different types of music. They like Spanish music, they like electronic, they like, depending where I'm at, sometimes I'll put in some hip hop or some dance hall or yeah, it's just a really special and cool vibe. And actually, the first time I DJ'd there, I DJ'd at a beach club. Right after the end of the night, they offered me a residency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to be there every week. And I was like, oh my God, I would love to, but I don't live here. I'm kind of like
In
DJing
between.
here, kind of like half vacation, half
Yeah.
work. But I did go back and DJ at that club later. But yeah, I think eventually I would love to live in Europe. So
Yeah. It
yeah.
sounds like, you're very like you're when you speak of it, I see the glow on your face
Yeah.
and that how much you love it. So like I'll share something with you. I don't think I've told anybody on the air about this, but and you were talking about, partying and dancing and the Spanish and so I had joined a gym and I was trying all these different classes and I say to my wife, I'm gonna go to this class and it's dancing in Spanish, right? Like Spanish
Oh,
dancing
cool.
classes.
Like Zumba, kind of?
Yes, right. It's exactly. So she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, I'm there. Let's go. Right. So I end up going. I'm the only man in this class, right? It was so hard to keep up, but I loved it. I just loved the
Nice.
vibe of the music. Um, you know, I don't know if I was graceful in any way, Flavia, but it was a good first outing. And I thought, yeah, at some point I wouldn't mind doing it again as I try to learn. And they were trying to teach us these moves. And I was like, yeah, these are pretty cool. I wish I had tried this 25 years ago.
Nice. I mean, those classes, like I dance and but th those classes, they're very fast paced.
Yes, they are.
So, yeah, it goes so quickly and it's you're like, "Oh, wow. Okay, next move.
Yeah.
Okay." Okay. You know? So, I
Yeah.
mean, good job for going and trying something new. And I think that's something really cool, which I would love to see more of, like music incorporated with fitness. I've
Yeah.
seen some in Atlanta, they do like these step classes to like R&B and hip hop, and I would love to have more of that here. Yeah, it's a great way to have fun and yeah, burn calories or
It
whatever
does,
your
it does.
goal
But for
is.
me, it was that vibe. It was just that Spanish music vibe, and I was like, man, I love this. I love this. I wish I could be better at it, but I love it. So,
Nice.
um, look, what do you like? So the album's gonna come out. Like, are you gonna do some shows? Are you gonna write more? Are you gonna take a breather? Like, I know sometimes artists like they'll do the album and I need a little break because I, been working hard on getting this all out or something. So what's going on in your world after?
So, for now, I'm planning to release the album, do some shows, promote it. And in terms of other music, I mean, I already have a couple songs that are unreleased, which will be released on the album and after the album. And then I don't know. We'll see. I'm working on another project that's more in the wellness space. So I'm going to be focusing on that a little bit more.
So let's talk about that for a second because I've talked about all your talents as a DJ and as an artist. I've fawned over your language skills. But you got a really impressive background. Like you're a teacher, you're a certified life and success coach.
Mhm.
You do neuro linguistic programming as a practitioner, you're a
Mhm.
facilitator. Like I how do you do all this stuff? And look at all those things. Do you engage with clients in those areas of expertise as well as your music or
Yes. So that's yeah, a different area where I coach people one-on-one, so individually. And yeah, I'm just holding space for them. Sorry, my dog's in the background
that's
snoring.
okay.
I don't
We've
know.
no, we've had dogs on the show. What
Oh,
kind of dog?
really?
Yeah, yeah. What do you have?
She's half hound, half German Shepherd.
Oh, that's great.
She's
Can you tell us her name?
Yeah, her name's Heidi.
Heidi. Hi, Heidi.
Yeah.
We can't see you on the show on the screen, but
Yeah, she's snoring.
oh,
Um,
that's okay. No worries. We love pets on the show. Yeah, it's good.
okay, cool. Um, but yeah, so I've done coaching mostly one-on-one for clients. I'm building a few resources right now, which
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk to you about at a later date.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to. We'd
Yeah.
love to. We'd love to hear more.
And yeah, so I'm doing more in the wellness self-development space. Actually, I last year I did a meditation for Operation Prefrontal Cortex, which is a nonprofit organization that Director X co-founded. I don't know if you know who Director X is.
No.
He's basically directed music videos for Ariana Grande, Drake,
Ooh, okay.
um, every big artist you
Yeah.
can think of for the last 20 years or so. He's done a music video for them. So I did a guided meditation with them in
Wow.
French, English, and Spanish. And I'm going to be creating more content like that because I think it's very valuable and useful for people. Like we all go through things. It's nice to
Yeah.
get centered and, also through like this recovery journey of my car accident, I've learned a lot about the brain, about self-development. Um, Yeah, and actually my grandfather in the 70s wrote a book about mind power as well. Yeah, so it's something that's
That's
been in
cool.
my world for a long time,
Yeah.
and then this accident kind of helped me learn way more and grow.
So I'm hearing we're gonna hear more from you in this space.
Yes.
And hopefully you'll come back and share that with us because I
Yes.
love wellness. I love the journey. I love connecting the dots for those things.
Nice.
And our show, we were recognized in the top 20 in the fall of 2023 across Canada for self-help.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes,
Congratulations.
thank you. So stuff like that is also very important to me as we try to help other people out there and they learn and
Mhm.
so you're just incredibly dynamic though. This is phenomenal with the stuff that you do and how you've blended your music and all that. So what a treat to know all of that and to hear that from you tonight. Um, look, you have a great website too, by the way. I gotta mention this.
Oh, thank you.
Yourgirlflav.com.
Yes.
And I know artists sometimes prefer there's other social media circles that, the Facebooks and the things like that. And what's your preference? Like if we could share with people, is it the website? Are you more Insta? Are you X? Are you, what throw it out there so that people know how to engage more Flavia.
Yes, I mean, I post a lot of things on Instagram and I post a lot of animal memes in my stories on there. So
Heidi,
definitely
do we get Heidi on Insta?
sometimes.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, on Instagram, my website, and I'm also going to be putting a lot more on YouTube as well. So, yeah,
So maybe we'll throw those links in the show notes for people to connect with you,
perfect.
and
Thank
you can
you.
give me
Thank
whichever ones you want, and we'll make sure that they have access to that. And I almost, just in this last question, I almost shortened your name. I almost said Flav.
Flav
Like,
is fine. Yeah, I mean,
is that
I'm your girl Flav on all social media. Like, yeah, traditional spelling YOURGIRLFLAV for people looking me up. So
do
yeah,
your
Flav is fine.
do your friends say just Flav? Like, did they shorten it or
Yeah,
yeah?
yeah, it depends. Yeah, or even people I work with, they're like, "Oh, Flav, this whatever." Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. We get our name shortened. Look, man, it's been a total pleasure having you on the show. I'm so thankful. I'm excited for your music. I'm excited, your talent and the stories you've shared with us. I'm pumped to hear more from you.
Thank
And
you.
I've probably eaten up a lot of your time tonight.
Oh, no.
But before you do go, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us or leave us with?
Just love yourself. Yeah. And do what makes you happy.
Beautiful message.
Yeah.
That that is Flavia Avadia. Love yourself. She's a dynamic artist, renowned DJ, professional educator, inspiration to women worldwide. Her new album, Salvaje, will be out in 2024. While one of the songs on the record is called Mala is available right now on all streaming platforms. You'll get to hear it right here a little bit later in the show, along with some other songs. You can find out more if you head on over to yourgirlflav.com or check her out live when you have the opportunity. Again, thank you, Flavia. I hope you come back again and take care.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was really a pleasure. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
you're a good interviewer and host, and you really listen. So thank you.
That is very kind of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks.